The Yamaha garage wasn't buzzing with excitement. It wasn't filled with cautious hope or nervous tension. It was quiet, the heavy, loaded kind of silence that only comes from years of accumulated frustration. Stale air, stale results, and stale excuses from engineers who kept preaching project philosophy while the timing screens delivered the same harsh truth every weekend. Then the atmosphere changed, not with noise or drama, but with a palpable shift, like the entire crew instinctively straightened up. The man walking in didn't carry the energy of a wide-eyed rookie, a polite factory guest, or a marketing-friendly newcomer. He moved like someone who'd been told his whole life he wasn't built for this level, and had spent every day proving them wrong anyway. Toprak Razgatlioglu stepped into the Pramac Yamaha V4 box at the Valencia postseason test like a force of nature checking the strength of fragile walls. Head slightly lowered, shoulders relaxed, eyes locked in that trademark dead calm intensity. The same eyes that had rewritten superbike cornering physics, the ones that never flinched when a bike stepped out at 300 km/h. The eyes of a rider who treats limits like personal insults. The garage froze, not out of blind belief in instant miracles, but because everyone could sense this wasn't a standard debut. This man wasn't here to politely learn MotoGP. He was here to reshape it on his terms. Mechanics paused mid-task. Alex Rins leaned in for a better look. Fabio Quartararo turned his head with that subtle rider instinct that says something out of the ordinary is happening. And the new V4 Yamaha sat there like a raw, unfinished weapon finally placed in hands that knew how to wield chaos. Toprak didn't smile for the cameras, didn't offer rehearsed nods, didn't play the humble rookie role. He pulled on his gloves with the quiet focus of a professional clocking into a job he'd already dominated in another life. Then he rolled out. Over the next 53 laps, the MotoGP paddock felt something it hadn't experienced in a long time. A rider from a different universe invading theirs without asking for an invitation. This wasn't manufactured hype. This wasn't give the new guy time. This was a three-time world superbike champion attacking corner speed like it owed him money, aggressive entry, violent precision, and exits that looked like the bike had no choice but to obey. Valencia tests are often political theater wrapped in engineering jargon. Factories hide development, rookies are expected to adapt to the tires, understand the electronics, and deliver safe, incremental progress. Toprak wasn't interested in any of that paddock poetry. He arrived with two clear goals: find the edge and push straight through it. The expectations were realistic, even skeptical. Michelin's behaved differently from Pirelli's. MotoGP braking zones punish late, aggressive inputs like few other things in racing. The new V4 Yamaha was still an infant learning to walk straight. Fabio Quartararo had already been open about tempering expectations. Rins and others braced for the typical rookie struggles. Jack Miller probably pictured a few sideways moments into turn one. Instead, the paddock got something far more unsettling. A rider who attacked corners with a blend of brutality and control that looked almost alien on a brand new prototype. On one of his key laps, Toprak dropped to 130, 667, putting him 18th overall, just 1.294 seconds off the test leader, and ahead of several more experienced Yamaha riders despite completing a solid 53 laps on a damp-to-dry track. That wasn't just a number, it was a statement. A debutante on Michelin tires on an undeveloped V4 at a circuit that exposes any lack of refinement, and he was the most productive Yamaha rider of the day in terms of consistency and output. Quartararo felt the shift immediately. He watched from the screens, then trackside, then through the garage data. I was pretty surprised how fast he was, the Frenchman said later. He's going to be better than I expected next year. He saw what others only whispered about. Toprak doesn't just ride corners, he hunts them. Enters like the bike personally offended him, exits like it's begging for forgiveness. Rins was equally direct. I was impressed. Even with two softs, you still need to do it. The tires don't ride themselves. Suddenly the narrative cracked. This wasn't Yamaha signing a big name to soften the transition to the V4 or generate headlines. This was a genuine weapon they might not yet know how to fully deploy. The Ducati, Aprilia, and KTM camps noticed. Marc Marquez noticed. Pecco Bagnaia and the rest paid attention. Quiet conversations spread in the hospitality areas. How is he doing that on that bike? Did you see the corner entry, the braking? Wait until he has a full season and the package evolves. The fear wasn't loud or dramatic. It was the quiet kind that makes engineers double-check their data logs. For the first time in years, MotoGP felt unpredictable again. It felt dangerous. It felt like a place where raw instinct could still humiliate carefully engineered physics. The real collapse wasn't Toprak's, it was the collapse of every safe assumption the paddock had made. The assumption that the Michelin learning curve would humble him for months, gone. The belief that a superbike star would need half a season just to look respectable dismantled. The scripture that MotoGP braking is completely different, challenged by a rider who simply rode it his way and still made the bike work. Even the quiet hope that 2026 might be a predictable transition year for Yamaha shattered. Fabio's expectations were reset. Rins admitted the pace was real. Rivals who stayed silent on camera were less restrained off-record. If he's doing this on a half-baked Yamaha, what happens when the bike matures? And inside Toprak himself, there was no illusion. He knows it won't be easy. He has openly said he won't be satisfied finishing outside the top 10 consistently. Not out of arrogance, but because his entire career has been defined by one unbreakable trait, a visceral refusal to accept mediocrity. He will have bad days, he will suffer, but he won't suffer quietly, and he won't let those days define the story. That mentality is what quietly unsettles the grid more than any single lap time. Fast rookies come and go. A rookie who refuses to normalize being average is something else entirely. Stripping away the emotion and fan noise, here is the cold logic of what Valencia actually showed. Violent adaptation speed. Most rookies need 150-200 laps to even begin grasping Michelin characteristics and the unique demands of prototype braking and electronics. Toprak extracted enough in far fewer runs to already challenge the internal Yamaha pecking order and post a competitive time under tricky conditions. A riding style that could force Yamaha's evolution. The V4 project now has two very different philosophies to study: Quartararo's smooth, accurate, feedback-driven approach versus Toprak's aggressive, violent, instinct-heavy style. For the first time since the Lorenzo Rossi era, Yamaha has contrasting data sets that could accelerate development in multiple directions at once. A genuine ecosystem disruptor. Ducati, Aprilia, KTM, and the established stars now have to factor in a new variable. This isn't a rider they can dismiss as just a superbike guy learning the ropes. This is a proven champion whose cornering chaos and braking aggression could force others to rethink lines, setups, and risk thresholds. 2026 just got more explosive, more unpredictable, and more alive. MotoGP didn't gain another safe, incremental rookie. It gained a storm that walks in calm but rides like it has unfinished business with physics itself. The question isn't whether this was a Yamaha miracle or pure Toprak madness. It's simpler. Now that he's shown this level on day one, what happens when he truly understands the class, the tires, and the bike catches up to his ambition?